2025. Oh yeah, it's Wednesday, January the 22nd, and welcome to a Spiritual Warriors table where you are my guest and I am your guest, believe it or not, because we're coming to the table. We have something to learn and to share, and I want to bless you on today, and you bless me with your presence. I want to be encouraging to you. I want to encourage you today to let you know that as God has blessed you with all spiritual blessings and has encouraged your life today on this 22nd day of the new year. I keep saying that because I want you to understand the power of being able to walk in this new year and the strength that God gives you to come to this new year. And so I'm your host, Bishop Kenneth Pearman, and I'm glad to come to your homes, your cars, or wherever you may be viewing me at, to tell you, lift your hands and give God praise where you can. Begin to open your mouth and worship Him. Begin to be able to say glory to His name. So as you're doing that and you're sharing this page, I pray that you're sharing this page with someone and asking them to join with you. We have a lot to cover. I want to talk about spiritual preparation. And as you're going into this new season with this new assignment that's on your life, as you have given God the first fruit, your first fruit from this morning. Oh, I pray you have. Maybe it's this evening because you came in, you're giving Him your final fruit of the evening because you have just gotten off your shift of work and you said, I praise you for allowing me to work during the day and I'm changing shift to come home. But whatever it is, you want to give God a praise. You want to thank Him. You want to have a time of gratitude and thankfulness. You know, yesterday we talked about shaking the dust off, shaking off that dust. Okay, and we knew what we could do. And I hope you go back to yesterday's broadcast and you review it. And as you listen to it and you go back to it, you'll see that God is doing some great things in your life and you'll understand how you can shake the dust off and the power of shaking the dust off. It blessed me, so I had to get some things together when I got off the broadcast and say, help me to shake off the dust. Oh my God. So I'm not just saying it to you, it works for me. My cup today is very important. It's a very special cup. It was one of the very first cups that we ever did. It's not the time to give up, but it's the time to rise up. It's one of the first cups that was done. I like to present it to you. It's not the time to give up. It's the time to rise up. And trust me when I tell you, if there ever was a time to not give up, but to rise up, it is now. Put aside your anger, put aside what you may feel, but know that it's time to rise up. And I need to say, and if I need to, let me put it in there a little closer for you so you can read it. I love this cup. This was the first cups we have. Oh yes, the best part of waking up is tea in your cup, because I don't drink coffee. And so I wanted to put it up here so you get a chance to just read it, and hopefully it's clear enough for you. But if not, I'll do something about that. But that's what the cup says. And it's probably because I had a light that's shining in it, but that's okay. But this is my first cup that ever came out, that I ever designed. And you can go to the website and you can see it. But if we don't have it, we're going to make sure we get it. This is one of those cups that you want to have, and it's important. And so as you are moving in this, and as it comes across to let you know, you can go to inspirationbringslife.com to get your cup. It's a blessing. But this cup blessed me. It's not the time to give up, but the time to rise up. Many years ago, well, let me just take a sip. Oh, that was really hot. But okay. Many years ago, probably in the latter part of the 80s, no, the early 80s, I need to say, or very early 80s, probably around 83, 82, 83, I had a breakfast, and it was at the Marriott in Parsippany. I believe that was Parsippany. It was on the borderline of Parsippany on Route 10. I did a breakfast, and it was called It's Not the Time. The theme of it was It's Not the Time to Give Up. God has already made a way. One of the most successful breakfasts in my lifetime was there because we fed well over 1,000 people. We had people coming in and they had to turn the buses away. It was a free breakfast that we gave. Man, oh man. Sometimes I live those days and thank Him. And we had a 7-layer of praise. And I remember Valerie Reese and Sharon and all of us, we layered up 7 rows, stacked up one higher than the other. And we had to do a backing because I was always able to do spiritual warfare. And I remember how I invited people. This is to get you ready for what I'm going to talk about. And so as I was preparing for that breakfast, I remember that my mother and my sister was so funny, Natasha, Elder Pyle, shepherdess. Oh, y'all should have met her then. She was something else. So she said, I'm going to help you with this breakfast, but you better find your way to give me back my money. And so it was so funny because we had gotten to the place and we were paying this, and the place was packed. When we say the breakfast started at 9, at 7:35, we were already in at 7 having pre-communion ourselves. Oh God, I got to lift my hands. And so it was a free breakfast. I'm telling you, no offering. And I had invited like several different pastors to come, and they came. When they came, they didn't know what they were walking in. Glory to God. Ooh. Oh, God. They didn't know what they were walking into. I had found the best place to have this breakfast. Whew. I am so blessed. Ooh, they had just opened up this hotel then. It was just opened. I'm so sorry. It had just opened. And I had taken the complete ballroom, not just a portion, the entire ballroom. And so we opened up at 7 just to do a pre-communion. Forgive me for pausing, because as I look back over how God has been so good and to bring me to this assignment of giving to you today what the Lord is speaking, I didn't know it would overtake me as it is in a good way. Ooh. Some of us don't realize how blessed we are when God speaks to us. I was a very young man then. I was barely in my 20s good. And I took every dime that I got. And that's why when people tell me, oh, you don't know what it is to pay a price, I paid people to listen to me. I fed them. Oh, let me get myself together. I fed them to listen to me. And so I was able to do what the Lord had given me. And I had the breakfast there because it was an assignment. And I was doing everything I could, please, to make sure I fulfilled the assignment of God. And as I did it, of course, when we opened the doors at 7:35, we was hoping that nobody was going to get there till like 8 o'clock. There was a line of people outside. I wish Sharon Reese was on here, or Valerie, they would be able to tell you. There was a line of people from the very entrance of the breakfast where the hall was at, which was a long way, all the way out to where the front desk was. And they were saying, when are you going to open the doors? You got to do something. These people cannot stand out here. And they were saying to the people inside, was saying we could not open the doors until a set time. So we had to wait until about 8:10. And as the place filled, and I remember my sister had given me the money to pay for it as part of paying it. My mother had given me the money to pay for it. I won't forget it. I won't forget these two people because they were very crucial in making sure that this event could take off, as well as all the money I took from my check. And by it being so, it was the most beautiful place because the Lord told me to have people serve like kings and queens. And so I did it. And so as these people came in, they had drove from Maine. They brought Jewish people in that were born again. They were driving. They would call it the healing breakfast. And they would bring them in. Oh, God. Because it was an assignment that was given to me. And so when they would come in, and after a while, they were bringing so many people, the room got full, very full. And my father had come. And as we got full and they were opening up more space, like on the outskirts of it, where you could still see, but you were on the outer part of the room, they were setting up tables. And the woman said, we have to stop. And I said, I ran out of money. And my father said, how much more you need? I'll never forget that. He went to the bank and got the money and gave it to me. First time he ever invested in me in his life. But he did it. I'm sharing this with you because as you're going through spiritual preparation and consecrating for the shifting of your new assignment, you don't know who will invest in you. Please, my brother and my sister, when people invest in you, do not take it lightly. When they're doing something for you to encourage you in the kingdom or in your business, don't throw it aside as nothing. It's not the time to give up, but it's the time to rise up in what God has called you into. And as we did the breakfast, and as we moved forward in the breakfast, and as that place filled up and it was filling, it got to the place where they had turned, the bus had come into the lot. That last bus came in. These are people that I did not know because nobody would respond like they did. I would say you have to respond RSVP. They wouldn't respond, so I had to take account of what I thought it would be, but it came over that. You said, well, people will come because it was free, but I was way out. People didn't drive up that far. But they came. And there were people that was coming, they was like in shock. Where are these people coming from? So when a woman said, you're over the limit now. We're not putting another table out. We're not adding no more because you don't have any more money. And a woman came up and said, how much do you need? It was a Jewish woman. And she said, well, he can't afford it. It is $5,000. And she said, I can't write a check under $5,000. At that moment. I'm sharing this with somebody to let you know whatever God has given you, he will provide for you. Why did you get so full, Pearman? Because I forgot at that moment as I was looking back over what God had promised me at that time. And I had to pay my sister back her money because she told me if I didn't pay it back, she was going to turn over every plate until she got her money. Oh my God. I'm just sharing with you what God will do. And in that time, in that assignment, I had pastors that came. I had gotten them awards because I wanted to encourage their heart. And one guy came, I'll never forget it. And he came in and he said, well, what is this? I said, it's an encouragement breakfast. He said, these people don't look like they need an encouragement. I said, everybody needs encouragement. Because it wasn't a breakfast based on, when you hear people say it's a free breakfast, you thought you were going to go down to the Bowery and just bring up people that looked like they were in need. These were people who were people of means. They were people that were of need. And it was everybody in this one spot. And when the message went forth, oh God. And God saved the waiters and the waitresses, because that was the theme. He would save the waiters, waitresses, and the managers. And they were amazed at what God was doing. I'm pausing. I have to give God praise, so please forgive me. There was such a move of God that the pastor that I thought would be encouraged got up. One guy said, well, who's sponsoring this? AT&T, Bell Atlantic? Are they sponsoring this? I had no sponsors. I didn't have that kind of sponsorship. And when he heard me say, no, this is something that I had to save the money for it. He got up and he left the breakfast. Another pastor, he said, well, what is this? And I said what it was. And he looked at me and he said, you did this? I said, yes. He said, well, how many churches did you bring? How many churches are in on this? I said, none that I know of. He got up and he left. Because when God gives you when God gives you an assignment, sometimes the very people that you think will be with you or that you're trying to encourage along the way, they can't believe the size of the vision of God in you. And therefore, when they come in thinking they have it all together, because that's not what you're thinking, you're just thinking, hey, we're here to celebrate this. I want to celebrate you. I had a thing about celebrating people. And when that happened, they could not handle it for seeing what was going on, that it may measure up or surpass what they were doing. You're not thinking like that. I'm talking to you. All you're thinking about is doing what God has given you in your heart to do. And at that very moment, there were about 5 pastors that just got up and left. Some of their people stayed and said to me, I'm sorry they left. They should have stayed. But they understood because they were talking to them about this doesn't make any sense. How can this young man at this age do all of this? How can you, I'm talking to you, have such a vision and have a heart to do what God has called you to do? Ooh, please forgive me on this, because I don't want to. Because when you walk vision, you dream it, it's a part of your life. You've been this way all of your life as a child, but you didn't get to zoom in on it because you didn't understand what God was doing in your life. That's why I encourage men and women to follow what I'm giving you. I'm going to teach you and show you and be an example as much as I can, and find examples that will encourage you and inspire you to understand the concept of how to seek God for a new assignment that he's putting in your life, how to explore those concepts of shifting into that new assignment, and how to shift and what happens during the shift. I want to talk to you about that today. And I want to see if that you will see that God will bless you if you allow me to give this to you, if you will open up your spirit and receive it. I just want to be able to say to you, if you would allow this to take place, you will be blessed. You may know most of what I'm saying, but I want to encourage you because there are pastors, there are leaders, there are apostles, there are prophets. I just want you to go forth in the strength of what God has called you in. You may be at the very top of what you feel that God has given you, but there's more. All I need is a couple of people to say, go forth, brother. I feel that in my spirit. I saw a lot of things yesterday. I watched the National Prayer Service. You know I'm going to bring something in. I have to. Excuse me, please. I know my background. I'm going to say, come on, Pearman. All right. I'm just trying not to cry so much about what God is doing. And I was watching it, and I watched the bishop, how she pleaded. And I have to tell you, that was an awesome plea, to plead for everybody and to have mercy. And so I watched that, and I pay attention to things, and that's all I'm going to say right there on that. But that's why I tell you we need to pray. We need to pray for the leadership that we're in. I watched facial discord, and why are they saying that? And to have mercy and to pray for the community at large, and to pray for those immigrants who work those fields and who are working in businesses. And you don't know how this is going to affect, how deeply this goes, especially in the birthright situation, how deeply this goes and how this will affect many families. So we need to pray. I'm asking you to pray. Okay, I ask you to pray. So this new assignment that we're walking into, this spiritual preparation and consecrating for this shifting into this new assignment that God has given you is very powerful, because you have to do it amongst all of this newness called the golden age. You have to become awoke. I'm going to say it. You're going to have to wake up and become awoke. Take it back. And use it for the right reasons. And so as we get into this and understand what God is saying, Joshua 3 verse 5 says, and I want to make sure I read this right, so please forgive me. Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you. Set aside this time. If you're fasting and praying, set aside to know, consecrate yourself. Dedicate yourself unto the Lord. Dedicate this vision, this assignment unto God. Take the time to meditate on what God has given you. Joshua 3 verse 5, I want to make out of the NIV says, consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you. Now, what I like about this is that he's letting you know, as you set yourself up for your today, I got something tomorrow that's going to be amazing that I'm going to do for you. I'm letting you know in this new assignment, in this new shifting that's taking place for your assignment, that I'm going to do amazing things for you. I'm shifting some things in which you may be doing already to give you a new view, a new perspective on it. Oh God, I have to just give God praise right there. Is there anybody that's on this same page as me? If you are and you're getting some more understanding, won't you put a number 2 with the power of agreement? Because we're going to be in agreement that what God is speaking into our spirit, we're going to accomplish. Don't you dare give up. It's time to rise up. This is the cup of the night today. Romans 12 verse 1 says, offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to the Lord. That's out of the NIV. Offer your body, offer your life as a living sacrifice. And that's what I was doing. I'm so sold out for souls that whatever it took in God, I did. I'm so grateful for my sister Natasha. And it was not that she had the money to do it. Because, when you tell people stuff like that, they say, oh, don't worry about it. They got money. No, they were in the sacrifice with me. They believed in what I was doing. They saw the results of what was happening. My sister's just one of them ones. She's not like me. Give it away and don't worry. She said, look at here. I'm going to help you, but you're going to have to give it back because I still need it for something else. Remember I told you about knowing how to say no? And knowing what to do to help somebody, but make sure you ensure that you take care of things first. She's one of the ones that taught me that. My mother, my dad, who had not done anything in reference to that, came to that breakfast. Really the second time that he saw me in the fullness of ministry. Whew. I can still see the power of God. And so when we look at how God is saying, look, I want you to understand what I want to do for you. You got to understand the shifting that's taking place in your life, and the definition of shifting in a spiritual and natural context is like this. It's important. The importance of shifting for growth and new assignments starts as this. You got to reflect on personal experiences of shifting in life. Career, relationships, and etc., as they say. That's Norman. Etc., etc., etc. Okay, and how do you shift in those spiritual, make that shift spiritually? You have to forgive me because I don't want to miss what I'm giving you. Prayer and seeking for God's guidance. Now, the reason I can say that because there was a woman that came into my life, and it's a shame to say, not a shame, it's a glorious blessing to be able to say this, and this is why I say this about my prayer partners and those who have walked with me these years in church. And I used to say to her all the time, she said, you always talk about the people in Jersey like nobody did nothing for you in Pennsylvania. I didn't know anybody really in Pennsylvania at the time. I said, yeah, but one day you all are going to be the conversation because I've learned things about you. And that's what's going to make the difference. And you become the echo of the historical parts of my life. And I used to tell them about Mother Bernice Wynn. And she was one of the prayer warriors of my life. She met me at Second Baptist Church in Belleville, where I was licensed under Lucius Williams. See, I don't forget where I come from. And they knew me as KP. And I mean, we We revolutionized certain parts of Belleville. We walked every door that we could walk, knocking on the doors. We could do that at that time. Taking prayer requests, because guess what? I was having a breakfast on Washington Avenue. And I walked those doors, knocked on those doors. And I had to ask his permission because I was at his church, under his ministry. Can I have a breakfast in this area? He was a little skeptical in the beginning. He was like, well, I don't know. But I asked, and he said, let's see. And he allowed me to, because they didn't have to pay for it. I knocked on every door, took prayer requests. They would say, can we give you some money for it? I said, no. I said, we just want to invite you. And there was a person across the street that did readings, spiritual readings. And so she was across the street. And all of those things was going on. And we was out there. I will never forget this as long as I live. And again, a mile marker in my life. But Mother Bernice Wynn was the one that taught me. So remember when I said to you earlier, don't forget prayer and seeking God's wisdom. She met me there on her knees. She said, young man, I had a dream about you. I looked at her. I had just walked in the church. She said, God is giving you something to do. And it's mighty and it's big. It has to do with people, gathering people. And there's food involved. And I just looked at her. I hadn't spoken to the pastor. God had spoken to me. I was leery because I had talked to some other spiritual people who said that's just impossible. God is not going to tell you to do that. Okay, I could give you a whole list of things that went on. But she came out of nowhere and she was praying. She said, I wasn't coming to this church this morning, but my cousin invited me and I came. And I was coming not knowing what I was coming for. But I came because I had to see you. She said, call me. So I called her. She said, I want you to come to my house. And she had a cousin. My God, my God. On Carnegie Avenue, I started in East Orange. And then we moved over to Everett Street. That's where Mother Wynn lived. And there was a house on Everett Street. And she said, come. And I went to her house that day. Her and her cousin was sitting there. She said, what are you doing? And I told her what I was doing. She said, well, what you're going to need is Bibles. And what you're going to need is this. And I just kept looking at her like, she said, you're going to need these things. She said, look, you're going to come for prayer. We're going to pray about this thing. And you need 30 days of prayer. And I looked at her. She's got to have 30 days of prayer, and we're going to have that prayer. And I was always mindful. Listen how God gives you things. I was mindful because she had a husband. I said, not unless you ask your husband if we can do it. She said, oh, he won't mind. I said, no, ma'am, please ask your husband. It's important that your husband says it's okay. She said, oh, I said, no. She said, you're such a kind young man. And so that was my first breakfast, the first one I ever had. And she said, you have to. And her husband came downstairs and said, you're the only one that ever asked. I want to see who you are. And when I got there, she had made this big dinner. She was a caterer. And she had made all this food, all this stuff that you can have. And she made the unleavened bread. And she said, when we finish, we'll have dinner afterward. So I thought when we went over there, it wasn't going to be hardly nobody there. Just about the four of us. It was me, Laura Owens, and she and her cousin. When I got there, I couldn't find a parking space, and somebody finally moved, and I got in. I said, dang, they got a lot of cars out here. When I got downstairs, there was well over 50 people in her basement. She had contacted 50 people to pray. 30 days we met in that basement. And in 30 days, it never went under that 50. It was always 50 and above. And every morning at 6 a.m., Mother Hobbs from Faith Temple, Free Will Baptist Church, under Bishop Forbes, was on there praying every morning. And I remember we had to say, now unto him who was able to keep us from falling and present us faultless. She had ended it with that. We had to do that every morning for 30 days. And she extended it because the breakfast was another 30 days out, 60 days. She said, you're going to pray and seek the Lord. When I got to that breakfast, I had everything and then some. Because she had to fortify me, teach me how to fortify myself before going into it. And the scripture is James 5, 1 and 5. James 1 and 5. If any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. This thing that God has given you, and you want to know how to shift yourself into the will of God and how to shift into what God has for you, you have to seek God. You have to pray for God's guidance and seek him for his wisdom. If you're being blessed right now for this, won't you put a number 4? Because something is manifesting in your life from God right now. I got something for you. You got to you got to start embracing the change and trusting God's plan. I had to be around people who were saying to me how to embrace God's change and trust the plan of God. Because I was around people who said God could not do this. And why would he tell you to take your money and pay for people to eat for free? They had the businessmen, the businessmen, I forgot how they call the businessmen's breakfast. They charged. The women aglow, they charge. So why would you do something for free? They would tell me it was going to fail. But then she said, let me tell you your first problem, Brother Pearman. And she would take her eyes and close and say, you know what your problem is, Brother Pearman? You're talking too much and you're talking to the wrong people. And she said it so lovingly. And she tapped me on my shoulder. She said, that's your problem. Stop talking. Don't tell nobody else. You're too excited about the vision. You're too excited about the assignment. You invite people. You don't share what God has given you about what you're doing. And if they say yes, it's good. If they say no, you bless them. She knew there was something different about me. She said, I saw you in a dream. She said, you don't have this suit right now, but I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you the suit that you're going to go get. So she wouldn't say exactly what it was. She said, but when you get it, I'm going to write this down and give it to my cousin right here. And she wrote it down, folded up the paper, and told her cousin to hold it. So when I went to go to the store, I picked out a suit and I bought it. I came back so I could have it for the breakfast. That was the only suit I had all those years. And I bought it. And I showed it to her. I said, I got my suit. And she told her cousin, open up the paper. And when she showed the suit, when I showed her the suit, she showed me the paper. It was the exact suit that God showed her in a vision. So God has people that have an eye because they've sought God concerning you and how to give you and invest in you. Somebody invested in you. Somebody took the time. They see your assignment. They see your vision. That's why I'm saying to some people, we have to get ourselves together. If they see something in you and they're willing to take the time to sit down and talk to you about it, you need to take the time to listen. So here we go. Proverbs, I was trying to say embracing. I'm about to cry. So I have to get this. Excuse me. Oh my God. Okay. I'm about to cry. That's what's happening to me. As you're embracing the change and trusting God's plan, Proverbs 3, verse 5 and 6 out of the NIV says, trusting in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Do you get that? Trusting, okay? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. Because if I lean to my own understanding, I got caught in a web of deception. And sometimes the very deception would be my own because there was already seeds of doubt planted in me. And then I would have the deceiver come alive and deceive me out of my own blessings. I began to say, well, why would she want to bless me like this? No one else has invested in me. I've had ideas all my life. And I saw other people go forth even as I was a child. How is it that they can do these things and I'm pushing to do them? Nobody even recognizes these things. And I'm doing them for the right reasons. So how did this woman and her cousin come to recognize it? Oh my God. Because when you have an assignment and you forget about other people and you just do what God gives you to do, that's when he goes to work on your behalf. Just like some of you on here, you know you're called to be a blessing, to be a supporter. You fight it, But you fight all the time. Say, I'm just not doing it. Oh, no, I can't. But God has said to you, you are to support this young man in the ministry and endeavors that he's going to do. You're going to see some things happen, but I'm going to give you some things for just being obedient. That's what he said to me about supporting people. There's some people you have to support. You have to get out and do some things. You have to do it. You're going to see the return. Just, hey, what did I speak to you to do? And I have to get myself together, just like some of you, and say, okay, God, this is what I'll do. All right, so let me just go on. So if we look at this thing, here's some good things that have happened. Abraham shifted, okay? Abraham shifted to leave his homeland and follow God's call out of Genesis 12, verse 1 through 4, made some things happen. Some bad examples would be Lot's wife looking back and turning into a pillar of salt, Genesis 19, verse 26. Some things that are happening that are good are professionals shifting careers, okay, and careers after prayerfully consideration and finding fulfillment in their new career change. That's what can happen. And some bad things is someone making a hasty decision without seeking guidance, leading to regret. We've already done that. We know what that is. We understand what takes place. How do we shift naturally, though? That's one of the things we look at that can get us, because we know some things spiritually to do, but how do we apply that in this body that we're in? We know how to pray. We know how to seek God, but how do we make it come to pass in this natural earthly realm that we're in? I know that's something to talk about. So as we deal with that, we need to set some goals and make some plans. Don't you dare give up. It's time to rise up. Again, what will I say to you from all my tubers and all of my Facebook people that are on here today? What would I say to you? If you feel like this is blessing you again, put a number 4 in, because that means something is manifesting from the power of God that's causing you to think. And guess what else it's doing? You know that little baby that you're carrying called vision? That dream of God that's in your life? It's causing it to leap. Finally, you're getting a jump start again. You're feeling something come alive in you. Oh yes, I refuse to give in and give up. You think I don't get discouraged? You don't think I fall prey to some of the things that try to come up against me? But I have to shake myself, okay, and move forward. Let me go on here. So we have to start setting goals and making plans under God, asking him for some strategic strategies. Proverbs 16, verse 9 says, in their hearts, human plans their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. So the humans already had their plans and their course, but the Lord establishes our steps. Lord, I need for you to help me make these plans. I need you to order my footsteps. I want you to show me how I can have a conversation, spiritual and naturally so. I know I need support when I'm going to deal with some things. I have children. I have grandchildren. Sometimes I can see that they're trying to railroad my child in school, but I need to have the right support system. I know I'm not going off. I'm trying to tell you that's a part of your assignment, okay? You got to start seeking support and mentorship. Proverbs 15, verse 22, out of the NIV. Plans fail for lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. Some of our plans fail because we have a lack of counsel, but with good advisors, they succeed. And what would normally fail, we'll find that with a good advisor, say, well, this may not work for you. It did not work, but let's see how we can turn this around. Even though it didn't work, let's find some good in this and extract from this here mess something good and make it positive. God, I thank you. Woo! Please, God, I thank you. I pray that you share this with so many people. I pray that you share this page with a lot of people today because it's going to bless them. And I have more for you tomorrow. Don't forget, I got to complete this thing. So Nehemiah's strategic planning to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem out of Nehemiah 2, verse 4 through 8 was something very, very positive. You need to read that. Okay, Saul's impulse decision leading to his downfall, 1 Samuel 13, verse 11 through 14. I need for you to read that. I can't go into it right now because I can't get all of that in, but I'm giving you the scriptures to go back to. So as an entrepreneur, consulting mentors and experts before launching a business will make some good things happen. You know, when I hear people say, I'm getting ready to launch a business, I said, did you talk to someone in that field? I just told the Lord just told me to do it. I said, did you talk to someone in that field? I told you the Lord spoke to me. And I said, but did you talk to someone else in that field? I can be your spiritual advisor. I don't have the expertise in that particular field. I can tell you what I think that the Lord is what I feel the Lord is speaking or the Holy Ghost is saying, but you need to talk to someone in those fields that can guide you. I'm a wealth of information to get you to where you need to go. Oh, the Holy Ghost is my teacher. You just messed up. The Holy Spirit will guide you to good mentorship, guide you to some people that will be able to, this experts that can help you as you're launching your business. You don't have to share everything you know. You just say, this is what I'd like to do. What should I not do? Ooh, okay. So when you make bad decisions, an individual making a major life decision without consulting anyone results in failure. You know, when we make these major decisions and we talk to the wrong people, you know, I listen to people say, and this is one of the things, I'm going to use it for an example. I'm going to just say it. You know, you ever seen people that they tell everybody else what they're going to do first? And by the time they get to the right source of who could help them in making that decision, they've already made a decision talking to everybody else. So now you're stuck with this decision, which has caused you failure. And the people that may have given you that advice, just do what you want to do, they're never around. They're somewhere poking fun and laughing because they would have never done what you've done. Or if you hear them talking, they say, no, I wouldn't talk to so-and-so and so because I knew they had already been through something and they could help me. And you're looking at them like, why didn't you tell me to? Because you didn't ask. I wish I could get somebody to agree with me on that. I'm raising my hand because I've done it many times. That's right. 5 fingers. It was the grace of God that I could sit here today, because how many times did I talk to the wrong people and the wrong people could have given me the right guidance but did not. And when I said, well, why didn't you share that? Because you didn't ask. And they didn't willfully lean the information to me. So let's go on. I don't want to keep staying over here. So what happens during this shift? What happens during the shift? Whew. Well, number one, embracing uncertainties. That's what I want to say. Embracing uncertainties and relying on faith makes the difference. Because if you're dealing with the shift, you're embracing uncertainties and relying on your faith. And you're experiencing growth and transformation at the same time. But when no one explains it to us like this, we become discombobulated and confused. Anybody been there? Again, let me put a 0 up on this one, because this is a complete circle that's dealing with just me. I don't want to talk about anybody else outside the circle. This has to do with me. And when you're able to say, yeah, Bishop, this is true. This has to do with me on this one. I feel I try to embrace this, but when I get to those uncertain places and I don't know how to really rely on my faith, because nobody told me that in this shifting, there's some uncertainties that come. But if I embrace it and rely on my faith in the Lord and trust in Him, I'm going to start to experience some growth and transformation. And then when I experience this transformation and there's some growing taking place, because I forgot, you get growing pains. With growth comes pain. But nobody says these things. They preach such a good gospel. We're going to walk through the door. Let's walk through the door. And we go to shouting and screaming. We're grateful. But nobody says, but I want to tell you on the other side, there's some pain that comes with it, but it's not pain that's unbearable. It's called growing pains. Oh, I wish I had somebody to get with me on this. Thank you for all the zeros that you all are putting in. And when we realize these things, we're able to embrace these uncertainties and recognize how we can get through them. Because once we rely on our faith and our trust in God, we'll know what uncertainties were from the adversary and which ones are from God. And as we're experiencing growth, the pain that comes from growth, as well as the transformation that comes after the growth, because we've been transformed into what we need to be or where we're going to go. Can I just pause for a moment and ask you all to start sending your emojis up and all of your happy faces and your thumbs up and balloons or whatever else and hashtags of worship and praise unto the Lord? Because I believe that when you start giving God praise at such a time as this, something happens. So we've covered so much right here. What happens when during the shift? Okay? And I'm sharing with you what happens. God, I just thank you. I just give God praise. How much information he gives us in this. You know, some people are dealing with sicknesses in their body, and they're fearful of what some of the things the doctor has said. And how do we get past that? When we're on broadcast like this and we're around people who constantly say, yes, acknowledging with that person, it can be fearful. It can be a little scary. Okay, but we can make it through. Whew. Lord have mercy. You're not giving in to the condition. You're acknowledging what has been stated. But you're saying, thank you for having the right people around me to help me see myself through this particular thing I'm dealing with. Now, why did I shift that a little bit? Because when you're talking to people, you have to remember everybody in the room is not walking in the room totally healed. There's some people that say, I want to believe what you're saying. And I've experienced some of the things you're saying, but I just had a blow. I've just come through surgery. I've just got finished having this heavy bleed, and I don't know what to do with myself. I'm dealing with tumors. I'm dealing with some fact that I'm fighting against cancer. I've got some things that are distorting my body. I'm dealing with migraine headaches that seem to be getting out of control. I'm stressed to the 99th power. Okay, this is why I have to pause. Because when we're ministering, we always give a blanket word that goes across the stage of life. And I want to pause for that. And I want to remind us as leaders, pastors, intercessors. But then there comes a time that we have to deal with people, because when they're talking with us, it's now individual. And now we have to ask God, that same word that we've spoken, how does it fit into an individual's life concerning that they're living in a house that the man does not believe that a woman should go forth in ministry? How does she deal with that and remain in this marriage? Okay, and I'm telling you the truth, and be able to show him that God does use women and yet remain in a place that it doesn't bring a lot of confusion. And not feel like she's slighting God at the same time. Woo, I'm talking on here. How do you deal with a family member that you know nothing about, that the whole house is Muslims or Muslims, and this is the only Christian in the house? How do you deal with that? You're telling me all of these things, and I feel what you're saying, but this is my battle. How do you deal with the fact that you're in a house with everybody in there? They're not Muslims, they're not anything. They just don't believe that God exists, although you know differently. And the fight every time you talk about God, every time you get ready to go to your church, every time you come from church, it's a fight against what God is doing in your life and how God can use you and how God can bless you. And even to the point it'll make you sometimes don't even want to get up to go because you're afraid of what you have to come back into. So why I have to pause right there, because what happens during the shift when I'm in these type of battles, and I know you're going to tell me to pray, and I'm praying. It is always after you pray. You pray and then you ask God to give you people that you can talk with that will continuously walk you through and encourage your heart in this particular area of your life. I think that's a good word right there. I can't say everything because I'm not talking to you personally, but I can give you that. That's the only way we can make it, when we're talking to someone and we're able to say exactly what it is that we're dealing with. Okay, so we have to overcoming challenges and obstacles. That's what happens during the shift. You're constantly overcoming challenges and obstacles. That's why I brought that in. And so Isaiah 43 verse 19 says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it shall spring up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." So he's saying to you that even though you're overcoming challenges and obstacles, I'm constantly doing a new thing, and it shall spring up before you. And I'm making a way in the wilderness, and I'm creating streams in your wasteland. So no matter what you're facing in the shift, you're going to notice that I'm constantly doing something for you. This is why I constantly say to everyone, ask God to show you your answered prayers. Release unto me to see the answered prayers. When you see them, it does something for you. And so I want you to understand what God is doing. Woo. Oh my God. So I want to make sure that my prayer is that we've covered all of this today. And I'm looking forward to coming to you tomorrow with the balance of what I have here, because there was no way I could put it all in at this time. I'm ministering to you to say to you today that this spiritual preparation, this consecration for shifting into your new assignment and adding to the assignment and listen, firming up your foundation, this is for you. If I don't do anything else in this year, I know I've got this down pat. That the Lord has blessed me to be able to give you things that will get you and keep you on track. And I'm saying that for someone who said, you're all over the place. Find the one thing that you know God has given you. Work that plan to the T. This is blessing you. Put a 5 in. It's the grace of God. Now, matter of fact, put a 54 in, because that means that the grace of God is moving and the manifestation is coming to pass. It's some stuff manifesting in your life. Okay? It's some things that God is just doing for you. He's been waiting to cause you to feel this hope come alive again, or to continuously keep you stirred in the Holy Ghost, to keep you stirred up like never before. I can't help but say to you, this is the power of God moving in your life. Woo! God, I thank you. This is for you. Some of you can't do it because it's too much. You're trying to drive, you're trying to work. I understand, but at least you're nodding your head. So what am I going to say to you? It's time for us to take the time. I'm always saying this. If I was my own coming back for me, I'd grab myself and say, get all you can get from me. Get it all. Don't use me, but glean, grow, learn. Because God blesses us when we do the right things. So what am I saying? Did you give him your first fruit of the morning? Oh, you want to hear me say that? Did you give it to him this morning? Are you deliberately disciplining yourself to make sure when you get up before you do anything else, I owe God a praise. Have you said to him, help me to prioritize my day and give me the grace I need for today and the anointing for the day, for each situation? I need you to grant me the wisdom and the wherewithal of how to handle this day. Continues to wrap me in your blood wall and keep me covered so that I don't move from under the blood. Is that possible? Yes. Have you said to the Lord today, for those who haven't done it yet, I am preparing my first fruit offering? Oh, yes, I'm going to come around to it. Yes. And I say it with a joy. Because we do everything until we have to give. We can give, oh, yeah, give up our finances. Yes. Yes. Have you prepared yourself if you haven't started tithing to tithe? Have you even checked yourself to see, am I one of those ones that made a vow that I have to come back and complete it? This is no hard come down on you. Things happen. Yes, it does. So help me to get back on track. Because when you come down and talk about, nobody got to beat nobody up for this. You just got to be able to say to you, all you got to do is get yourself together. Start working. That's all. Because what would it profit us, any of us, to beat each other up? No. It is to show you the way to get back on track. And you choose what you feel to do about getting on track. That's it. And let it be a glorious time to come back onto track and allow God to bless you. Because it's a blessing to get yourself together. And you did it because you said, you know what? That's true. I need to just get back on track. It may be a little rough, but I can do it. I can do it. And it's a joy to it. Not with frown faces and ugly hearts. No, let's do it unto the Lord. That's what I'm talking about. And so as you're sowing today and you're preparing to sow, even today on the broadcast, you haven't sown this week, or you're saying, I've been waiting, Bishop. Okay. But those of you that are ready to sow, why not get ready? In a few minutes, you'll see on the screen how you can give through Cash App, $ Kenneth, Kenneth, Pearman, Pearman, or you may Zelle at Dr. KP Knows, that's right, at gmail.com, or you can go to our P.O. Box, 149, Brodheadsville, Pennsylvania, 18322. I'm telling you, I'm grateful. As you're sowing, did you know I pray for that? I pray. I pray for those of you to sow in prayer. See, I'm excited for what God does in people's lives. Yeah, I praise God for when people just sow $2 because I know they give from their heart. But those of us that make that thing say, hey, I'm giving 20, I'm giving 25. Today I'm sowing. This word is rich. I'm sowing into it. What a blessing. The return is great. Oh, my brothers and my sisters, I trust God with that. I'm learning something about what he's speaking. And I learned that there's a challenge that the adversary always comes with. Can you hold out? Can you hold out until God really bless you? I said, yeah. Yes, I can. And you can too. Because God is moving. The manifestation has already happened in the heavens, and now it's happening on earth. And the moment I begin to say, show me the answered prayers of what has already happened, I start seeing what's beginning to happen all over again, right here. So my brothers, my sisters, I'm so glad that you joined me today. But should this, and I know it has, this have blessed you and you're sowing your seed, I thank you in advance. I'm praying even after I end this broadcast for you that are sowing, a special blessing for you. And guess what else? You have a testimony about how this has blessed you today. Why don't you inbox me? Share the testimony. Let me read how this has blessed you today, so I can read it and be inspired to go even deeper into other things that the Lord would give, because you are worth it. Don't you dare give up. It's time to rise up. And it's time to rise up and receive that shift into the assignment that God has given you. You're going to hear me talk a lot about that, because you're going to make it through and you're going to be glad. So what are you going to do? Pray over those names that you put in that Bible. Don't forget that. Then you're going to what? Oh yeah, you got 3 things that you're supposed to put up that you're going to do within these 100 days, 120 days. But you're going to take out of those 3, you're going to make sure one of them you complete. That's right. And we're going to talk about that one when you inbox me, of how good it feels to complete that one thing. Then we're going to talk about when the weather gets a little bit, the temperature goes up, how you're going to take that door and anoint that door the correct way. And then we're going to talk about what kind of welcome mat you need to have. Thank you, Alan, for reminding me of that. The welcome mat you need to really have at your door. Okay. All of these things we use as things that make the difference in our going in and coming out. That's all I'm saying. Are you ready for that? Sure you are. But until we get back together again, they're going to put up how you can give. They're going to run that across again on the screen. I want to thank God for the helper we have today that's behind the scenes, Mr. Jordan, who has done a great job. He's a young man, and he has been working endlessly with me in the morning. And I thank him for what he's doing. And all of you that can, put your hearts up and your love for him. He's really done a good job. And I want to salute him today and say, with love, I hit the mic. He said, don't hit the mic. Come on, Unc. But give you a salute from the heart. And thank his dad, who is at a distance, is like overseeing it. Thank God for him. And I want to thank God for you. So when you all put those hearts up and all of those for him, he's doing good. There will not be an afternoon blessings today. We want to come back to that. I'll let you know when. But I want to reset some things so I can come across, and we want to do it correctly. And I want to make sure I can keep that lesson going, because I want you to get all I have in this year. These first 3 months are very crucial and critical for the fulfillment of your destiny, because your sincere desire to please God, guess what? And he's obligated to reverse your barren state. Let's end on that note. Have a blessed day. See you tomorrow morning right back here for our Spiritual Warriors Table. God bless.
Yeah.